Destiny 2 didn't just die, it's been revived. After the letdown of the first two expansions of Destiny 2, and to a lesser degree Destiny, depending on how you felt about that game, Forsaken finally feels like it brought the universe together to some degree. I was one of the original Destiny players that felt pretty underwhelmed as I continued to pour my time into what I was hoping to be a really engaging franchise. But amidst the lackluster story, although you could view it as an improvement to some degree from Destiny 1, the repeat flow of game content, the lack of any in-game content, developer scandals, and the unfulfilled promises from Activision, I was one of the first to leave the game as well. If not for those issues, I also wasn't a big fan regarding all the reused content and assets, and shopping out recycled game content for DLC purposes. That was a big no-no. Regardless of what game I played though, I felt like the soul of Destiny just wasn't there, especially amidst the backdrop of such high expectations. It was difficult to sit back as the expansions started piling up, and after 4 years of mediocre content, I had pretty much given up on what I thought was going to be Destiny. And I'm talking about the vision we all had for this franchise, given what we thought the game was going to be. It certainly tried to be a good game, but given how the franchise seems to be the industry's punching bag and meme lord today, it doesn't seem like the industry thought it was enough. But that was before Forsaken. Like a lot of people out there, I gave Forsaken a shot when it came out. If this expansion wasn't great though, I'll tell you what, it may be my last. And it turns out that finally, just finally, Guardians have something to call home in the Destiny universe. It's been long known that the community for Destiny has been in a steady decline over time. With the release of each new expansion, lots of players do come back. However, most of them don't stay for very long after they've tried it out. But following the release of Forsaken, it's been reported that Destiny 2's player base has jumped up to 3.9 million players across all platforms, running both PvP and PvE content. This was after a reported 750,000 new players joined the fray just leading up to Forsaken in the month of August alone. It's unknown how many players will remain active, of course, but a 300% increase isn't something the game's seen in a very long time, and especially the excitement surrounding this player count boom as well. People will come and go, but I do expect more people will stick around this time if you line up Forsaken alongside the game's other high points and expansions. After playing the content in Forsaken, I look back into the rearview mirror at how far the franchise has come, even though it didn't start out on a big high point. Outside the Taken Keen, honestly every moment in Destiny's history has simply been marked by a lack of game content, which was the main reason why a lot of people left.
Can we get closer?
After all, chasing loot only goes so far when the game just feels hollow. It seemed like every expansion just didn't have enough to do, like the company bit off more than they could chew. They simply delivered the bones of mediocre expansions for a long time, only with the promise of future updates available on Bungie's website through the yearly plans. And often that's just not enough. I mean, it's great, except we often needed that content, deemed extra mind you, to make the expansions actually feel like they were real expansions. Thankfully, Forsaken does set a higher bar this time around, and I think the community is finally starting to realize that. Once you complete the main campaign, you'll be required to complete a set of 3 missions by the Spider to get access to Destiny's in-game zone, which is the Dreaming City. It's a fresh breath of air, because the campaign to get there is actually pretty fun too. I love the idea of having some choice in how I took down all the Barons, and most of the missions are pretty engaging this time around. And the Tangled Shore is beautiful, but honestly it pales in comparison to the Dreaming City. The Dreaming City is huge. Hiding secrets, activities, tons of stuff to do and various adventures to go on. And it's got a new power curve too. In contrast to everything that came before it, which was an exercise in plowing through game content as fast as you possibly could, often while feeling like a god, Forsaken is actually quite challenging. I think after completing the main campaign I was like power level 510, and that wasn't quite enough to take on the new content in the Dreaming City. So I had to do a little bit of grinding, but thanks to the revamped power system and the variety of daily missions and weekly missions, it did make the grind for gear more rewarding and tolerable. Now players enjoy a more gradual sense of progression and power rather than the dump after a weekly reset, and for a casual player like myself it makes it a more enjoyable experience in the long run, and I imagine it presents even more benefits to hardcore players who exhaust the weekly content within just a few hours and then put the game down. In the past, that was a really big problem. We've also got the collection and Destiny 2's new achievements called Triumphs to further extend the longevity that plagued previous expansions so heavily. The new Gambit mode as well provides what seems to be an almost limitless amount of replayability further through the new PvE/PvP gameplay mode, and the combinations of matches I've had have always been different. Combine that with a lower time to kill and more powerful weapons based off the brand new weapon system, by the way, and quite frankly, any match in the Crucible feels just 10 times better than before. By decoupling the old system and removing its many restrictions, allows more flexibility in player choice and increases options for gun accessibility, while of course still limiting you just in a new way that's not as confining. And with melee damage increasing, lower time to kill, and Titan shoulder charges being a one-hit kill in the Crucible, it encourages a more fast-paced playstyle and just makes the combat overall just more exciting. But of course, Destiny's core retention issues were never caused by a lack of quality gameplay. It was usually a lack of content instead. Not only that, Destiny 2 always seemed to have a problem with player reward even when the content was generous or repeatable. Of the big issues of vanilla Destiny 2, I think was a sense that the game wasn't giving back to you in the same proportions of how much time you were giving it. In addition to the campaign and the Gambit mode, Forsaken just gives you more to do, and more of a reason to revisit the same content. And with the return of random rolls, even identical guns and drops will be different based off the modifiers. You have the ability to use these mods or dismantle the gun to keep the mod, which has a direct impact on, once again, replayability. It combats the old problem of players not wanting to repeat game content because they've already looted what they wanted. And if you make it to Last Wish, Destiny 2's new raid, you'll have even more reason to continue playing. It's also generous with loot, and the design of it is actually really quite fun. There's also plenty of secrets to discover, weekly challenges, daily missions, new exotic quests, and new dungeons to explore like the Shattered Throne for special rewards. So given all that, I think Destiny 2's Forsaken expansion is like the best version of Destiny yet, and with its new weapon system, streamlined gameplay and combat tweaks, random rolls, and overall quality and amount of the game content on offer, what's not to like? So while Destiny 2 was really easy not to like for a long time and damn near dead in the eyes of many players, I think it's been brought back to life, at least for me. Of course, you gotta like how Destiny 2 is structured as a video game, and you really have to like the Bungie style combat system. Not everyone's gonna like it, and for some people, Forsaken is not the game to get. But for those who do, I think it's a huge improvement on the classic, mediocre Destiny 2 expansion. Because let's be honest here, the Destiny franchise is not a franchise people want to look back and remember as just being okay. It had the potential to be one of the greatest franchises built by one of the greatest developers on the planet. Unfortunately, that did not happen. Destiny's troubled development, numerous scandals, and missteps along the way just created this environment where it was easy to give up and abandon this game. Ironically, a game that we all thought was probably going to be the game of our generation. The fact is, nobody wanted to hate Destiny, and nobody wanted to hate Activision or Bungie. But somewhere along the road, that happened in the industry. Destiny and its sequel became public enemy number one, not because it was destined to fail, or that gamers were simply bullying it into the ground for no reason, but because the promises of the original vision were never quite fulfilled. Forsaken offers the first glimpse into realizing the best possible version of that Destiny experience, even if it's not the Destiny game we all imagined from the get-go. Forsaken is the gravedigger that dug up the half-dead carcass of Destiny deep underground, and at least in some way, in some fashion, brought it back to life. So there's Destiny 2 Forsaken, guys. I mean, I didn't think I was ever going to play this game again, but gave it a shot, got some good stuff in there. It's not perfect, you know, it's still Destiny. Deep down, you gotta love Destiny to like Forsaken, but for, I think, the community at least, it's a good step in the right direction. And definitely a worthy follow-up to the last expansions for Destiny 2, which were basically dog doo-doo for me. So thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Have yourself a fantastic day, and we'll see you guys in our next video. Take care.